These handheld tools cost me less than $100. Very cheap, and that's the positive. The other positive about doing internals by hand is the fact that you're in control of how much mud you're leaving on that wall, but then you're also in control on how easy it's going to be to sand once it comes to sanding, because obviously nobody likes sanding. It doesn't matter what job you're doing, everybody hates sanding. So it's always good to make sure that the sanding is nice and easy, because it's the worst part of the job, if I'm being honest. And the cons are, if you're not very good at drywall, or if you're a beginner, it's gonna be very frustrating, and it's gonna get messy, and it's gonna look ugly. And I'm being very honest because I just don't care. And I also think that it's gonna be very hard to sand because you don't know what you're doing yet. So you sort of need a lot of practice, a lot of try and error before you get the hang of it. But once you get the hang of it, you are going to get the best internals because you're more in control of what you're doing. Let's talk about the automatic toolkits. But I'm gonna start with the cons. They're just too expensive, especially if you don't do drywall every day. To just go and spend $2,000 on a toolkit, and I reckon that's the only. Also, you sort of aren't in control of your internals because of how the glazer works. So it's gonna feel what it needs to feel. You know, every internal is different. One wall might be at a level and stuff like that. The toolkit will try its best to give you the best internal. So I would say handheld, you're more in control, but the automatic toolkit is in control of the overall finish of that internal, I would say. The pros of an automatic toolkit is the fact that the automatic toolkit is in control. So if you're a beginner, you don't need to be in control. You just gotta swipe that internal. You don't need to know all the technical terms to how to do internals, how to do all that and do all this. You just have to pump the mud into the internal and just glaze that internal. Give it a few swipes up and down, and that's it. And you can also do so much internals in a day, whether you're a beginner or professional. It's honestly crazy. Like, I can do a decent sized 3-bedroom house, do all internals in less than an hour. It's that easy, whereas handheld, it would take me 4 hours, 3 hours. You get what I'm saying? It's faster, it's easier to use for beginners. It's like you can't go wrong. It all depends obviously on the toolkit that you buy, but it's definitely the way to go if you can afford it. I guess that's why it's so expensive. So those are the pros and cons to why you should maybe consider spending money on your internal toolkit. And I generally recommend it for somebody that does drywall very frequently. I don't recommend it for beginners, even though it's the best for beginners. But if you can afford it, I do recommend it, whether you're a beginner or professional. Whereas handheld tools are very cheap, and you're in control of the internal, especially if the wall is at a level or the tape wasn't down right. You can leave as much gear as you need to, or take as much gear as you need to, make it easy to sand and stuff like that. But it's just very hard to use if you've never done it before. That's it. That's all the video, that's all the breakdown. And there you have it, G. Adios and peace out. Let me know what you think. Cheers.